Good morning.
Morning.
State your name, please.
John Wiggins.
Do you have a middle name?
No middle name.
Why not?
My daddy thought two names was enough. And only had two names. Milton Wiggins.
And what was your mother's name?
Addie Elmore Voss. Maiden name, Voss.
Okay. Where were you born?
I was born on a farmhouse in the North County, Keston, North Carolina.
Did a doctor come to the house?
I do not know. I was a lot young. I didn't have much of a mind at that time.
Okay. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have three sisters, two older, one younger.
Are any of them alive still?
One, the oldest one.
Okay. What year were you born?
1935, November.
Remember what day?
No. Like I say, I was young and didn't have much of a mind.
Was it November the 4th?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay, November.
But I didn't remember that at first.
Okay.
It just came about.
Now, did you all live in one house or did you move around or what?
We moved around a lot. My saying is my dad moved whenever the rent came due.
And what kind of job did your dad have?
My dad was a farm boy, but he worked for his uncle, which was a house mover. And being a house mover, you had to rebuild foundations to put the house back on after you moved it. And he learned how to lay brick, and that was his profession, laying brick.
So he mostly worked for him his
Yeah.
adult life.
My mother's uncle, he worked for.
Okay.
Not mostly for his, no. After that, he went wherever the bricklaying was available, whatever contractor. And he was laying bricks. He'd change jobs overnight. He'd change jobs.
Did you guys move a lot?
Yeah. But then locally, like I say, whenever rent kind of came due, we moved.
So were you from a rich family, middle class, poor? What do you think?
We were a happy family. We were poor, but we lived good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't do without or anything?
No, I eat a lot of peanut butter, molasses, and sow's belly. It was little pieces of fat meat, fried. We each probably for breakfast would have two pieces. Be enough to go around for two pieces a piece.
So you were raised during the Depression?
Yes, as the Depression was going out. I was born during the Depression. It's hard to make a living at that time.
Yeah.
Dad had a farm which was willed to my mother from her people, and we lost that farm.
How many acres was that?
Oh, I don't know.
Did you work on it?
I would guess no. I was still a baby, and
When they lost the farm?
yeah, right, yeah.
Well, why did he lose the farm? I mean, he wasn't.
Well, I guess because he couldn't get materials, he couldn't buy fertilizer, went in debt. When you go in debt, you couldn't get out of debt, and they just claimed the farm. It was theirs, you know.
Right. So, what was your favorite subject in school?
I really had no favorite subject until I got to high school. My favorite subject was typing.
Really?
Really.
Now, you didn't take shop or did they have those kind of things?
Yeah, we had shop. I took that, and I did fairly good at shop because I love tools. So I learned how to sew, but I can't build anything new because I'm too anxious to get it done right then. It has to be done in 15 minutes.
I will vouch for that. But you try. You're a pretty good mechanic. So how young were you when you started working?
I started working probably at my mother's cousin's filling station when I was around 14, 15.
And what'd you do there?
whatever they told me to do. And we had a lot of batters going and coming. And I was so young and small that the only way I could tow the batters hold it up against me. And about 3 or 4 days, I didn't have no clothes. The acid either rolled up.
So you learned about acid.
Right off.
Right off. Well, tell that story about your coat that you got during the Depression.
Well, really, that wasn't depression. We were just, after depression, it took a long time to make money. We just were, I guess, really, really poor. But we were happy. We have no more sense to know that we were poor. We didn't know that. We just, So we had a coat. I was with my dad. We stopped at this filling station. He wanted a drink. And so they had a heater in there, a space heater, we call them. They burn coal or fuel oil or whatever in the heater. So I backed up to the heater to get my back warm. And I got too close to the heater and burnt the back of my coat. I had to burn that place. It wasn't a hole, it just burned. It was kind of like a wool coat, the outside of it. I had to wear that all year long, that away, because I couldn't afford to go buy a new one,
Right. Now, did you work at other farms when you were young?
We were hired out, the family was. 3 sisters, me, my 2 older sisters. We were hired out to farm, help get into tobacco. We don't call that farming, we just helping put in tobacco.
And how young were you when you started doing that?
Oh, 10 years old, I guess. $3 a week.
And did you get to keep that money?
No,
Where'd that money go?
I gave it to my dad.
So all the girls and everything
Well,
gave
we had
everything.
that money to go to school.
Was that $3 for all of you a day, or was that a week, or what? How
Well,
much?
we more or less stayed with my dad's side of the family. He farmed a lot. My dad, like I say, after he lost the farm, he went into construction work,
Right.
building houses and stuff. So after that, Dad didn't have a farm for a long time. He took different little jobs, and so we got my uncle. I called him. He was farming, so he needed help to put in tobacco during the summer. So we'd go stay with him. That was our room and board plus $3 a week. And I ran the tobacco trucks with a mule pulling it. And my 2 sisters worked at the barn. We called it looping. Loop tobacco into a stick. And so I was just a small top. I ain't very tall now. But anyway, I done it. But we'd go down the hill and the single tree would come loose from the tobacco truck. The tobacco truck go that way, the mule go that way. But anyway, I worked. We stayed there with him during the week, putting in tobacco. We need to put in tobacco. 3 or 4 days, best I remember, during the week for maybe 6 weeks.
Okay. So in high school, did you have any jobs? Did you drive school bus?
Yeah, I drove school bus when I was in 11th grade. I had school bus route, $22 a month.
Now, did you get to keep any of that?
Not much of it.
So you gave a majority
I was trying
to your
date
parents?
at that time, so, but anyway, we had drive-in theaters and we'd take girlfriends to the theater, 50 cents a carload, I think. Sometimes they would have it. And we'd go to the drive-in movie. But some of the money, like I say, always, it was the family's money, okay? It didn't bother me because that's all we needed,
Right. So what was your first job out of once you graduated from high school? Did you go to the 12th grade, or how many years of school did you go to?
12 grades by the skin of my teeth, but I made it. It was hard. And I had 2 weeks out of high school, I joined the Coast Guard.
Now, why'd you join the Coast Guard?
Because I wanted to make a career. I had an uncle that was, I think maybe a chief in the Navy. Not
Well,
sure
why
what-
didn't you join the Navy?
Well, I was going to join the Navy, and somebody said, "Why don't you join the Coast Guard?" I didn't know what the Coast Guard was, so I looked into it. I went applied for the Coast Guard, and I took the exam. By the skin of my teeth, I was able to get in, and I made it.
And where'd you go to boot camp at?
Cape May, New Jersey.
Okay. And how did you decide what you were going to do in the Coast Guard? Or did they decide for you?
No, I wanted to be. I've always more or less mechanically inclined, so I wanted to be an engineman.
Now, did you go to mechanic school out of boot camp,
No,
or
I didn't
what
follow-
happened?
I didn't make a good enough grade to do it in the Coast Guard. I got out, and then what we call struck for the grade. In other words, we had to, if we wanted to advance, we'd use a correspondence course. We'd use a correspondence course for each grade, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st class, petty officer.
So you didn't go to mechanic school?
No.
Really? So what was your first duty station out of boot camp then?
Cobb Island in Virginia, on the east coast of Virginia, Eastern Shore.
Okay. How many kids did you have?
Had 2,
How many grandkids do you have?
10.
How many?
Correction. I can't keep up with them. 5 grandchildren and 10 great grandchildren.
Okay. That's okay. Usually the men don't get those answers right.
Yeah, think.
I know. Okay. So how long were you in the Coast Guard?
25 and a half years, 25 and 6 months.
And to what was the highest rank that you achieved in the Coast Guard?
1 officer W4, we call it.
So what do you think your best unit in the Coast Guard was?
I guess Port Arthur, Virginia was my best overall. It's hard to say. I really enjoyed the Coast Guard.
Right.
Still like it.
Me too.
Yeah.
If I look back, I say, owe a lot to the Coast Guard.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah.
You're married?
Yes.
Who are you married to?
My love of my life, Marie Wiggins.
And how'd you meet her?
On a blind date, and I'm still blind. Like 65 years.
So how long did you all date?
2 years. I would call that long distance dating.
So you were in the Coast Guard
Yes.
while you were dating?
Yeah. At the station I was on, we had 2 off and 4 on. So I asked the chief in charge if I would stay 8 days instead of 4 days, could I get 3 days off in a row to go see Marie? He agreed to it. So that's what I would do.
That was nice because back then they weren't
Yeah.
too accommodating.
Right. He was the chief petty officer, and he was in charge.
And you knew it.
He was at the head of the table all the time. Yeah, did we know it?
Right. Do you remember proposing to Mom?
Yeah. Yeah, sure do.
Okay.
Well, when I gave her the ring, I guess that was the day that we discussed marriage, but we didn't know when we were going to do it.
Yeah.
And we were at what they call a King's Restaurant in Keston, North Carolina. And in front of a kicking machine, they had a row of boat cans or boots on about 5 or 6 sticks. We were parked in front of it. You could get in front of that thing, turn it, and it'd kick your butt. You know?
It sounds like it was a real big money maker.
But anyway, I don't think they charged me. That was free of charge to kick you on the butt.
Oh, is that right? Mostly Yankees use that machine.
So we were in the car. I think I was in my 49 Plymouth, I believe. I forget what I had at that time. But anyway, I gave her the ring. And she put her arms around me and agreed to it.
When you were dating Mom, you were in Virginia. Did you have a car then?
Yes and no. I would hitchhike to the ferry from where we are, come in on the boat, and hitchhike to the ferry, which is about 12, 15 miles away, to a ferry, which is an hour and a half across the Chesapeake Bay. And when I get off the ferry, I could park my car there for 10, 12 days and get in my car and drive it home. But sometimes I didn't have the car. I would hitchhike from there to Little Washington, North Carolina, and Marie would pick me up there. She'd know when I'd be coming home. And I did that.
You used your cell phone to call her?
Cell phone. What is that?
Was it pretty easy to hitchhike?
Oh, yeah.
No problem in getting a
just
ride?
around Norfolk, Virginia. Navy was probably... Navy was liked, but just don't get on the people's grass. They had signs there, keep off the grass. That's the truth. Sailors keep off grass.
Right.
But I'd leave there with like that, and I could hitchhike within, most of the time it'd take me about 2.5, 3 hours to hitchhike to Little Washington, North Carolina.
How much money were you making a month when you got out of boot camp?
When I got out of boot camp, you went in as a SR, but you came out as a SA. SR is Seaman Recruit. But the Coast Guard never gave you one stripe. You always come out with, put it on your uniform, start with 2 stripes. And the second stripe was Seaman Apprentice. And so they came out $72 a month. Should have got you a pay rate scale. I got it out there. And $72 a month. So when I got my duty station, I wanted to change my rate to engineman. So I became a fireman SA instead of a SA. So I was FA, and FR.
Right, but on your uniform, those for the Seaman Apprentice, they were white stripes.
They were red stripes.
Really?
Yeah.
For everybody?
No.
Oh, for a Seaman Apprentice, they were white.
White stripes.
And then when you went mechanic, then they were changed to red.
Right.
Okay.
Changed to red. Yeah.
Okay.
Then the engineman in charge, we called him, was the first class petty officer. His name was Dallas O'Neill. And he was quite a character from Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. And he seemed to take a liking to me. And he helped me get my first crow on, they called it at the time, which was a 3rd class petty officer. And I did that. And this was Cobb Island, like I said before. I stayed on Cobb Island 4.5 years, and I had needed sea duty to become 3rd class. No, to become 2nd class. I had to have 6 months sea duty. So within our district, Coast Guard district, they called them at that time, had an 83-footer where you could go within that district and go on board and get your sea duty in. And generally, you got enough time to get sea duty to get it to the next rate. They could transfer you back to one of the station. We had 5 or 6 lifeboat stations, they called them. And they did keep people rotating around from that 83-footer. So they all could advance up if they wanted to. So when I got my time in, I was eligible to get off of that boat and go to another duty station, or I had to go to Ocean City, Maryland. And at that time, they didn't have opening back at Cobb Island. So we were getting married at that time. We were married before I left the boat, an 83-footer, which was in Chickstein, Virginia. I got off of that and went to Ocean City, Maryland, but they had to leave Marie behind because they had no place to go when they had money to move herself up there, you know. So we stayed there until I found out there was an opening back in Cobb Island. I applied for it. So I was lucky enough to get it. I went back to Cobb Island as a second class. And then that was about 3 years in service. And I was getting ready to make first class. And I wanted to make first class. I did all my courses, correspondence courses, and advanced up. And I got married, and we got married on a shoestring, we called them. I didn't have money enough to pay my car payment and go on a honeymoon, so I borrowed a $50 a month car payment, skipped it that month, and we went on a honeymoon, which a friend of my mother's gave us an apartment to live in for a week or 3 days. I think we spent a weekend there on it. And then when I got back, I was just got off the honeymoon. They called me up by the phone and said, "John, you made first class." So
How big a pay raise was that?
I don't know, but $150 with first class, $150. So when I got married, Marie got a housing allowance, which was $150. Now this is gross money, no taxes out of it. They had to take income taxes out of that amount.
Right.
So we got married on $300 altogether. We had no furniture, no house, nothing. So we went to a used furniture store in Norfolk, Virginia, and bought us some used furniture. And I don't know how much it was. Well, I re-enlisted at that time. It was time to re-enlist.
Did you get a bonus when you re-enlisted?
At that time, $10,000.
Whoa.
I think it was $10,000.
That's pretty high, Dad, back then.
Yeah, I know. I forget.
That sounds pretty high.
I was young then, but I had no mind. I think my wife said around 2,000. I forget what it was.
Yeah, 10 sounds pretty high.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. I know making chief in the Coast Guard's a pretty big deal. Do you remember?
Oh,
Do you remember that day?
Do you remember that day? Let me tell you before that.
Tell me before. Tell me what you had to go through.
The nationwide exam one time. Didn't make the high enough to get on the cutoff list. So it was due to come again. So we studied about all kinds of study material, question and answer material, book that about that thick. And I'd go through them day after day. So the weekend before we go to take another test, Marie and I sat out underneath the tree in Sheffield, Alabama, all weekend going through that book. She read them, and I give her that. And we went aboard the boat. I was on a boat and worked down the Tennessee River. And I went aboard that morning, and they said, "Grab him, man." They grabbed me and threw me over the side. What was that for? I didn't know what it was for. And they said, "You made chief." The day of my life, I guess I was happy staying in life. And I didn't have any uniform. It was Sheffield, Alabama. There's no military stores to buy uniform. So I said, "I don't have any uniform. I can't put my chief uniform on." She said, "Well, you take the day off and go shopping." So we did and bought some khaki clothes to go to chief. So where I was at, I was the top engineman on the boat. So when I made chief, I had to be transferred. So here comes a set of orders to go to an icebreaker or go to isolated duty. And isolated duty is a year long. Icebreaker could have been 2 years aboard. And boy. So I chose isolated duty. And they gave me a set of orders to go to FESEX, which was Japan at that time. So I was scheduled to go to Japan. I got to Alameda to get ready to go. And they come in, so your orders are going to be changed to go to Thailand area. So I said, how long is it going to take? So, well, you got to have a passport to go there, and it's going to take about 2 weeks to get a passport. I said, I ain't going to sit around here for 2 weeks to wait for a passport to come in. So before that, I'd already said goodbye to Marie for a year. And we, excuse me,
It's all right.
we said goodbye to each other, and we left. Went to Alameda. And when that came in, changed orders, called Maria up, said, pick me up in Raleigh Durham. So she picked me up in Raleigh Durham. She said, I thought I'd say goodbye to you for a year. Then we did. I come in and stayed home. 2 weeks, I think. And then I went back to Alameda. And then I went to Thailand. No cell phone. Mail wasn't too good. And the only thing they had at that time was a underwater cable, telephone cable through the whole ocean. So I went to my duty station, and about after 6 months or so, I got a chance to go back to Bangkok and then go visit Con Son Island, which was in Vietnam. And I said, well, I'll try to call Marie. So I put my name in. Yeah, they had a waiting list. Put my name in and waited about 3 hours. And I got a call, and your time is, call Marie up. And it was 2 o'clock over here. Marie answered the phone. I woke her up. She didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. We talked about, that's $10 a minute, by the way, $30 it cost me. So we said, hello, how you doing? That was it. I said goodbye. So I was sent to Thailand on isolated duty for 365 days, which was leap year. And 665 days later, I came back to Greenville, North Carolina, and met my family again.
So how many, you said you did a little over 25 years, right, in the Coast Guard?
Yeah.
How many years of sea duty did you have?
12 years of sea duty. And some of those were spelled on the rivers, western rivers of the United States.
And how often did you move during your Coast Guard career?
Well, we moved about every 2 years on average.
Okay. When you retired from the Coast Guard, where were you at?
In the Port Arthur, North Carolina. Texas.
Port Arthur, Texas.
Yeah.
And what'd you do when you retired from the Coast Guard?
I got a job at a shipyard as a repair superintendent.
And how long were you there?
6 months. And I had to move out there because it was a union. And boy, I couldn't stand union people, and I tried to get them to work. At there, you had to satisfy the customer, my job was, and I had to abide by the union rules. And that's hard to do, You try to get a union man to work, he's just standing around doing nothing, and you can't say nothing to him. It's painful, And then you got, why ain't my boat ready? Why ain't my barge ready? It's hard to do, so I kept asking people to come in the shipyard to know if anybody needs to work on a boat or be a port engineer or something. Said, yeah, we know somebody. Said, they're looking for somebody to be a port engineer. I said, well, here's my resume. So I tell Marie that. She said, well, here I moved to Texas, thought I was going to retire the rest of my life, and you wanted to leave to go somewhere else. So anyway, that came through. I was interviewed by the company, and we moved to Houma, Louisiana. And we've been there.
And who'd you work for?
When I moved here, I was OBIU's Incorporated.
And how long did you work for them?
5 years.
And what'd you do for them?
I was a port engineer. We had 4 offshore boats, mud boats we call them, to haul liquid mud to the wells, and took care of about 7, 8 barges and 3 inland tugs that push the barges around
And why'd you leave them?
because the company didn't need me anymore. They were cutting down. We had a dry up with oil in this area. You could drive down Tunnel Boulevard, the business street in Houma, and pass one car. And it was that slow here. It was terrible. People were, so they had to come back at the mud company. So we did that. So I was out of a job, sending resumes around, and finally I got to a supply boat company, and they hired me, and they sent me right to China. I went to China for 3 months.
And what'd you do there?
I was point engineer for 3 supply boats.
Did you spend all your time? I mean, where'd you go after China
Well,
for this company? Didn't you go to a lot of different countries?
Only went to one more company. I came back from that 3 months tour, and they had a shipyard repair on the boat in Togo, Africa, and they said, we're going to send you over there until they get that boat fixed. So I went over there and spent maybe a month there. I forget exactly, about a month.
Was that interesting, being in Africa?
Oh, it was terribly interesting. And it was over Christmas. So I called my wife Marie and see if she wanted to come spend Christmas with me in Togo, Africa. And lo and behold, here she come. And she got there. She didn't have any yellow fever shot. And we had to get that, and she stayed there until she got sick. She got deathly sick there, and luckily we had an African doctor that was real good. He come in and helped her, but he said, I don't think you can make it home. I just don't believe you did. But we went home anyway. We got permission to leave to my job, and we flew her home and landed in New Orleans, Louisiana, and we got her looked after, and she pulled through. She had kidney problems, failure, if you recall it that.
So what was your, how long were you working for that company?
Maybe 2 years with him.
And where'd you go after that?
I applied for a marine surveyor's job in New Orleans. But while I was in Togo, Africa, or in China, man, they called me up to see if I wanted that job. I had already talked to them. And I said, well, I don't think I want it because I'd had to move to New Orleans. And I didn't want to move to New Orleans from Bridge City.
You mean from Houma?
No. I applied for that job before I got the job to go to China.
Gotcha.
So I went to New Orleans to be interviewed by Hull and Cargo surveyors. And we didn't want to move to New Orleans. Not especially from Bridge City, Texas, which is a small community. Everybody kind of knew a lot of people, and we really liked it there. And so I kind of turned that job down. And then I got this chance to come to Houma, Louisiana, for Louisiana Mud Company, or OBI Hughes, and which was the same company. And I got that and moved to Houma. And then while I was in Houma and in China, they called Marie and said, we're interviewing again for this job in New Orleans. Does your husband want that job? Marie told her I was going. I think he will take it, but he's in China right now. He won't be home for 2 more weeks at least. Lo and behold. So we landed back. I came home. She picked me up in New Orleans, the airport, and we drove right to Hull and Cargo's office and met the manager there, and they said I could get the job. So I took the job and stayed there with them 5 years or more, and it was really a good job. They said if you start now, within a year or two, we'll double your salary. Sure enough, they did. My salary was doubled, and so I stayed with them 5 years, and they made me a good offer when they hired me. They gave me an annuity was if I stayed with them till I was 65 years old and 10 years, the annuity would be for life. And so we went to it, and they doubled my salary, and then we decided we'd retire completely. So I retired, in the process of retiring, Connecticut, Marine Insurance with the Connecticut hired me to be a Marine manager in the Houma area. So I took that job, which was really good. And due to the slowdown in the oil field, which I had mentioned before, they didn't need me anymore after about 3 or 4 years. So then I started a business of my own. I was 62, getting ready, I could draw Social Security. So we decided I'd go ahead and retire completely. So I went to apply for Social Security and sat down with the lady, and I'd already doing some private survey work after leaving Holland Surveyors. And I said, the lady that interviewed me for Social Security said, how much money you made since you retired, or since November, which was my birthday. And this was in March, or 1st of April. I said, what do you mean that? She said, well, we got to count the money you've earned between November and now. I said, no, you don't. I said, I'm not going to do that. So I said, just stop this meeting right now. So we got out of that meeting and went to a lawyer's office and asked him, I said, can I start a company and go Social Security too without being deducted what I made so far? He said, yeah, you can do that. I said, and put in my wife's name. He said, yeah. So we set up a company, Wiggins and Marine Surveyor. Maria is the manager or president of the company. And we went to work for them. I surveyed for 20 years on my own.
So how old were you when you stopped surveying?
So 82 years old.
And
I loved it.
You love that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you decided to stop that. So what do you do now?
Well, just, I always loved to tinker and repair anything that was available. I picked up lawnmowers, got them running. I put them in front of the house, with for sale sign on them, and the old people come by and buy them. I don't have a business, but I do work on lawnmowers, and I stay pretty busy at it, believe it or not. Right now, when I get one ready to go, I call my granddaughter and say, Mandy, I got one, post it for me. And lo and behold, as soon as she posted it, within 15 minutes, sometimes that lawnmower would be sold. And it's still that way after 3 or 4 years. And right now I have 2, one to go picked up, my daughter's recovered, and it's at her house. I'm gonna go pick that up this morning. And I got one yesterday, I got dry. God left it at my house to repair. So I'll be busy Saturday after my son goes back to Topeka, Kansas. But it's amazing how people go by. So one day they said, how old is that lawnmower? I said, it don't matter how old it is, it matters how good it runs. And she bought it.
Right.
I sold 4 in one day's time out in front of my yard.
Yeah. This is a hard question. What do you think is the biggest accomplishment in your life?
Oh, I guess going in business for myself is the biggest accomplishment.
You did well.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about
My dream was growing up was to own a brick veneer house, and I'm living in it.
yeah. When you're during all these years, who's your favorite president?
I like Truman because he was a simple man, and he required nothing else. There's something you can't. Everybody's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But like Truman, he was a simple man. He done one of the biggest jobs this country ever had. Dropped H bomb. He left the White House in his own car, drove it to Missouri, and nobody escorted him. As far as I know, he had no Secret Service looking after him when he retired. As far as I know, and I don't think so. I don't think Secret Service came about till maybe Eisenhower was president, a little later. Eisenhower looked out for the serviceman. He gave us the first pay raise when I was in that he had after. Well, I was in 3 years or so before I got any kind of pay raise. I got raised by moving up in rank, as we call it, and but Eisenhower got us a pay raise, and he gave us Social Security. We got that, but recently Trump. A lot of people don't like Trump because of his big mouth, but that guy got something done. He would fight anybody. He don't care who they were, and he would stick to what he was told you he would do. He told me, I'll drop the biggest bum I got on you if you don't do right. And he would, he would do that.
Yeah.
He'd do it right now if he had a chance.
Right. Yeah. All right, Dad. Thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right.